Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever, however, wherever you're listening. We appreciate that you are. This is the Delaware High School Football Pod presented by Websites for Sports, and we're the only media outlet exclusively dedicated to high school football here in the First State. Pod's available wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also get it on YouTube. On today's story, the big story is it's week 12. And so no matter how you call it, the playoffs are starting. And that's going to be the big story that we're going to talk about. We're also going to give out some helmet stickers and have our trivia question winner and your question for next week and how you can go about hearing what that is. And so we're not going to dive into the playoff picture because that would get boring for a lot of people. We're going to give you probably what you want as our opinions. And that's we're going to go from there. But first, let's talk about our sponsor, Websites for Sports. They are created and managed by Brian Rutter. It's the only place you can find the schedule, rosters, and stats if coaches post them for every high school team in the state of Delaware. I've used this site consistently even before we started this podcast, as my boys have gone through high school sports. Bottom line is, if you have a child playing or you're just interested in following a team, you can set schedule alerts. It's the place for you to go. We can't thank Brian Rutter of Websites for Sports enough for sponsoring this podcast once again this year. That's websites, the number 4sports.com. And from there, you can find the teams, links, and go. And
by the way, real quick, John, speaking of Brian Rutter, his name came up in the meeting this morning. If Brian Rutter didn't do this meeting would last hours.
Like it used to.
Brian Rutter makes this possible
Right.
to make this a quick process for the DIAA board. So thanks to Brian Rutter for that.
Yeah, last hours and often have a follow-up email 1 hour later with, we have a correction. This team didn't make it, and this team is in. So
that's right.
More than the sponsor of this podcast, Brian Rutter's commitment to all of the, and that's not just a football.
No, it's
tournament.
everything.
It's every tournament. He basically does it for them. And so, and then the committees get together and make sure everything, basically what the committees do is make sure the information they've put into websites
exactly
is correct.
And
then they
that's
go
it
from there and figure out that kind of stuff. So a great job by the football committee too as well. We don't want to not say that they don't have anything to do with it. They do. And I'm involved in this committee with the Unified Sports. And so I know the work that goes into it, even though in my case, Nate Threets, the new chair of the Unified Committee, does all the work for that, along with Brian Rutter and Website for Sports. And so speaking of which, let's start with the Unified bracket. Unified Sports has been around now for 12 years. Football has been around for 10 of that, I believe. And so they have 8 teams who are vying for a state championship. That state championship will be played on Friday night. And I believe that starts at, I know it starts at 5 o'clock, according to the bracket they released today. And so that will be preceding the 3A game. And so that night you can buy 2 tickets and get in to see both. The tickets for the first round games for Unified are free. And actually for the semifinals as well. And so it's an opportunity to go. All of the times are either at 3, 4, or 6 p.m., and I'll tell you who's doing what in just a second. And so they're very doable. And so I'd encourage you to go out and see a Unified game. As some people would say, this is what sports is all about. When you see people with and without disabilities competing with each other and against each other. And so the first game, actually all the quarterfinal games, are on Thursday, November 13th. That's this Thursday. Top seed is Indian River, defending state champion. They're going to take on the 8 seed Seaford. That game will be at 4 o'clock at Indian River. Number 4, Mount Pleasant takes on Cape Henlopen, the 5th seed. That game will be at Mount Pleasant. That game's going to start at 3 o'clock because Mount Pleasant does not have lights. And so obviously we're in daylight saving time now. And the last thing you want to do, as I pointed out during the committee meeting, the last thing we want to do is have a playoff game called because of darkness.
Oh, God,
you have to bring everybody back, especially Cape Henlopen, who's traveling 2 hours to get up to Mount Pleasant. It doesn't get much farther than Cape Henlopen to Mount Pleasant. So the third game is number 3, McCain. They will host number 6, Newark Charter. That game will be at 4 o'clock at McCain. And then Cesar Rodney, the 2 seed, will take on number 7, William Penn. That game will be at 6 o'clock at Cesar Rodney. So again, 4 games on Thursday for Unified. If you have the afternoon available, or in the case of Cesar Rodney, the evening, go check it out. The games take about an hour and 15 minutes. I think halftime is 10 minutes. And so it's just a great way to see some real quality football.
The enthusiasm these kids show will match anything you see in any of the other playoffs. You know what you don't get in these, though? The unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, John. So you get all the enthusiasm minus the roughness.
Exactly.
They're a lot of fun to watch these games. And the kids, both types of kids that are playing in these games are phenomenal. They handle these situations perfectly, and it's a lot of fun. The whole unified sports thing, which you're head of the committee, is just a fantastic idea, and you can see it on these kids' faces when they play.
All right, before we dive into the other brackets, I want to talk about Win the Day Planner, developed by Dan Rigby, put together. He's a longtime wrestling coach, put together for student athletes originally, actually wrestlers originally, was his sport, but now it's expanded to student athletes and just students. And I've always said it could be sold to adults as well. It combines essential tools for success, goal setting, and scheduling. And it is just a great way for students and athletes to track their own progress, set goals, and achieve greatness. And not just in sports. It could be your homework, your exams, studying for SATs, or whatever you want to do. It's used by teams at all levels throughout the country. Yes, all levels. T-ball teams in some cases, all the way up to college. Great thing is now it's free. They've been so successful over the few years they've done this. It's now free to Delaware teams. And so you can get your print or digital copy and more information about the free part of this at winthedayplanner.com. That's winthedayplanner.com. All right, let's dive into the Class 1A tournament, Marty. 4 games, 8 teams, 1 rematch, and 4 of these teams are from District 1. Yep. And so in a 3-district class, that's pretty impressive that 4 of them come from one district, and that was District 1. And what we're going to do is just start at the top of the bracket, which is number 1 Brandywine taking on number 8 Concord. Which is an immediate rematch from the game they just played, which yes. Brandywine won 22-7. Now, Brandywine led 22-0 at the half. So the game was pretty much an even game in the second half. If not, you have to say Concord won the second half because they scored it. Now, one unique thing was that this game was played on a Saturday morning. Which is an odd time for a lot of teams to play. Concord always plays their home games on Saturday morning at 10:30. Yep. The rematch is going to be Friday night at 7 o'clock at Brandywine High School. So if the game had been the other way around and Concord had won 22-7, I might say, you know what, that was a big advantage for Concord to play at home on a Saturday morning. But that wasn't the case. Brandywine still won. And so Brandywine is going to host Concord. It's a 1 versus an 8. I'm going to give you my pick, Marty, then let you comment and give your pick. I'm going with the number 1 seed and the home team, Brandywine High School.
Yeah, I'm going to go Brandywine as well in this one. And just real quick, this is one of those brackets that is incredibly top heavy. You have the number 2 seed Seaford. Seaford and Brandywine actually tied for the number 1 seed, so they had to go to the 3rd tiebreaker, which was opponents' wins. Seaford actually comes out ahead there as the 2 seed, if you ask me, only because of how the bracket shakes out. That's no offense to the other teams, but we'll get into the other teams as we go down there. But yeah, Brandywine right now is just playing extremely well. They're fundamentally sound. Coach Mays has this team playing at a really high level. They're very enthusiastic to watch. This is too much for Concord.
And I'm going to go when I talk about quality wins. When I say a quality win, that's a win against a playoff team, whether it's in your class, up a class, or down a class. And so that's a quality win. Brandywine has 3 quality wins, including a win against Class 2A DMA. Concord has just 1 quality win, and that was against McCain, a team that snuck into the playoffs as far as Marty and I are concerned. We'll talk more about that when we get to them. All right, let's go to the second game of the bracket. Then this is probably my favorite matchup in terms of being a good game. Number 4, St. Elizabeth versus number 5, Newark Charter. Newark Charter making the playoffs in their first year as a varsity team. Congratulations to Coach Jody Russell and that coaching staff that probably has 100 million years of experience between them at the high school level. They did not play in the regular season. I have St. Elizabeth with 3 quality wins, McCain, Conrad, and Concord. And just 1 quality win for Newark Charter, and that was against Conrad. Still a big win. Conrad won the District 2, and so a big quality win there. This is a tough one, Marty. This is going to be played on Saturday at 12 noon at Apocinio Stadium. Yep. Advantage St. Elizabeth. That's often when they would play some of their games on Saturday. Newark Charter is a Friday night team at home especially, and so that's going to be something Coach Jody Russell is going to talk to his team about. Guys, it's not a normal Friday night where you play, we win or lose, and you go out and do something. That's not going to be the case. This is a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Newark Charter. I've liked what I've seen. They've got a large roster, and the backups on that roster can play varsity football. And and a lot of times we're just going with hunches here. Yep. St. Elizabeth could win by 2 touchdowns. Newark Charter can win by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go with the Patriots to win, to not only get to their first playoff opportunity as a varsity team, but to win the playoff opportunity as well.
I'm with you on this one. I'm going Newark Charter for two reasons. One, their roster is huge. They have just under 50 kids suit up this past Saturday. And the other is the stadium is going to be lopsided in terms of the Newark Charter fans. The Newark Charter fans are rabid fans. They're very into this team. Even though it's a Saturday, they're going to show up.
Yep.
St. Elizabeth has a very small fan base for a very simple reason. They're a very small school. So there's not going to be a ton on that side of the stadium. I think that the fans, the atmosphere of the fact that it's their first playoff game, Newark Charter, just too much emotion there carries them to the win.
Yeah, and I'd be worried about Newark Charter playing its first tournament team if they weren't coached by a coaching staff that has seen every sort of team go to state tournaments.
That's right.
At one point. So, all right, let's go to number 2, Seaford, hosting number 7, Glasgow. They did not play during the regular season. Seaford had 2 quality wins. One was Newark Charter School. The other one was playing up to 2A Laurel, one of the biggest wins in Seaford history, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
least in recent history, since way back when they were vying for state championships. Not since then, but anyway. So they've got 2 quality wins. Glasgow has 0 quality wins. Glasgow's in the playoffs. They play well under Coach Ricky Brown, and they've got a shot. They've got athletes, but so does Seaford. I'm going to take the Blue Jays to advance. What impressed me the most was that win over Laurel, and Laurel's in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and, that was very impressive and told me a lot about that team. So I'll take the Blue Jays.
And they meet my test of the teams they're supposed to beat, they beat quickly and beat badly. They're going to do that here too. Glasgow's in this, and we'll talk about this in the next matchup as well. But Glasgow opened the season with 3 straight 2A opponents, which gave them a bunch of bonus points. It's part of the reason they're in this tournament. They do have the one big win over Newark, which really ended up putting them in and keeping Newark out of the tournament. But yeah, Glasgow, Ricky Brown and his kids are going to show up. They're going to fight. We know that. Just too much talent on the Seaford side.
Yeah, and Glasgow's won 4 in a row. And so they've got that advantage rolling in as well. In fact, if they weren't playing Seaford and Brandywine, I'd have to think about giving them the nod because of the way that they've been playing coming in. But that's not the case against a team like Seaford. All right, final matchup. And by the way, Seaford Glasgow is at 7:00 on Friday night at Seaford High School.
Real quick, John, to the fans out there, if you want to see a game, take your pick because you won't be able to see many. There are a huge number of Friday night games in this tournament for some reason, including all 4 3A games. But we'll get to that later.
All right, so Conrad and McCain, number 3, Conrad won the district, playing against number 6, McCain. Marty's going to talk about them in just a second. Conrad had 1 quality win, and that was against the Glasgow team we just talked about. McCain had 0 quality wins, and Marty, I'll let you talk about that. I'm taking Conrad in this tournament game. Yeah,
I absolutely am too. Conrad had a good season. They gave Newark Charter a run. They lost that game by 4 points. McCain is an odd case, and I posted on Twitter last night a sort of a blind resume of 2 teams. It ended up being Newark and McCain. McCain went 4-6, and again, this is not a shot at McCain. This is just the way they scheduled and the way it panned out. They got a monster number of points from playing 3 2A teams. Those 3 2A teams outscored them 115-0, but those teams went 25-5, so they gave McCain a ton of bonus points. And McCain's 4 wins came against teams that had a total of 4 wins on the season. So this may be on paper the weakest playoff team we've seen since they stopped doing the automatic where everybody makes the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, McCain has a couple impressive performances where they played some teams tough. But to me, Conrad, Chet Walters and Conrad, he's got that team playing at a really high level right now. Those kids love playing for him. I know it's their first home game and a playoff game forever. Yep. So I think Conrad here, just the emotion of the moment and the fact that Conrad, in my mind, is just a better football team. So Conrad wins this one.
All right, so that's it for Class 3A. We've got 3 games up in Newcastle County, one about as far as you can get in the state of Delaware going south other than Delmar, and that's at Seaford. 2 of the games are at noon on Saturday, 2 of them on Friday night. So if you're a Class 1A football fan, you can get to at least 2 of the games, that's for sure. All right, before we go on to Class 2A, I want to tell you about Mary Kate Johnston with RE/MAX Associates, an award-winning realtor with 20 years of experience. She's done a lot for my family, helping us sell our house, buy the new one. We've recommended her to friends and family members who have in turn used her, been thrilled, and recommended her to others as well. Her website is marykatej.remax.com. That's marykatej.remax.com. And there you can also check out her multiple 5-star reviews on Zillow and read what others have said as well. All right, Class 2A, there are two rematches, and both of them were lopsided scores. Number one seed is Indian River. They, of course, clinched that when they beat Lake Forest, two of the top three teams in this district. They're going to play number 8, Odessa. Now, Indian River blew out Odessa back in week 1 or week 0, whatever it was. It was the first game for both those teams, 46-5. And, Marty, we really question whether Odessa was any good this year.
Absolutely.
And we've now realized they are. It's just Indian River was 41 points better than them. Whether they will be now or not, we're not sure. Indian River has 6 quality wins. That's 2 more quality wins than any other team in the tournament. What does that mean? Probably not a whole lot, other than they're going to have to play a quality game to beat Odessa. Odessa's got 3 quality wins. One of them was playing down against Newark Charter, but they also beat Glasgow and they beat McCain, 2 playoff teams. And so I like Indian River in this. They've won 19 straight games dating back to the season before dating back to last season and through the when they were state champions. And so I just like Indian River. I like them playing at home. It's on a Friday night, same Friday, this coming Friday, when we say Friday night, 7 o'clock. I just like Indian River. It's just a hunch.
Me too. I agree.
At the same time, at the same time, if I had to pick an upset in this district, any of them, that might be the upset that I might pick. Just so Odessa doesn't have too much bulletin board material. Go ahead.
Yeah, that offense at Indian River is just loaded. You got Dylan Grice, you got Irby on the outside, you got Handy, you got Stokes, of course, who's going to Syracuse. They're so fast. And what impressed me the most was they fell behind at Lake Forest 14-0 at the end of the first quarter this past weekend. And you kind of looked and it was all going Lake Forest way. And then all of a sudden the defense tightened up, the offense got things rolling, and they pull out this great win to take the number 1 seed. They almost feel like one of those teams of destiny this year, Indian River. They're just the fact that they were 1A champions last year, moved up and haven't missed a beat. Is just phenomenal. Now, we talked about this before. Enjoy it while you can, because next year they're probably going to take it on the chin pretty good. You lose a lot there. But
just ask Polly.
That's right. But this Indian River team, it's just, there's something about them. I think they take this game, and they're going to be a very, very tough out in this tournament.
All right, number 4, Lake Forest hosts number 5, Archmere. Lake Forest, of course, lost to Indian River, cost them the district title and one of the top seeds. Did not cost them home field advantage game, which we actually predicted last week when we were talking about them. Lake defeated Archmere 35-13 way back in week 4. They have 3 quality wins, including Class 3 wins against Cape Henlopen, a playoff team, and Dover, not a playoff team, but still a Class 3 win. Archmere has 2 quality wins. Marty, this is a game that I would assume is going to be a little bit closer than 35-13. I'm still going to pick Lake Forest in this game. They suffered their first loss against Indian River, and I almost feel better. Again, this is a 4-5 game, and I almost feel better about Lake Forest's chances that they lost a game than they're rolling in there with 10 straight and have no idea, what it's like to be in a close game. I shouldn't say that. They probably played some close games. You know what I'm saying? They suffered a loss. They realize they're vulnerable, and they have to show up and play from the very beginning against an Archmere team. That program's always a solid program.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because this is a matchup of 2 teams who played in all or nothing district title games this past weekend. Archmere played Howard straight up for the district title and got blown off the field, 36-0. Lake Forest, of course, that heartbreaker at the end for them. I think Stokes scored the touchdown with about 8 seconds left in the game for Indian River. The first time they played, it was 14-13 Lake late in the third quarter. Lake got some late touchdowns, some Archmere turnovers. So this game was a lot closer than the final score showed. I agree. I think this is going to be a close game. I also think Lake Forest, again, until this past week, they just felt like one of those teams that just had something special. I've been really impressed with Archmere this year. Don't make any mistake about that. And by the way, just going back to the last game, because I forgot to mention this, Coach DeGotti, what he's done with Odessa since that first loss to Indian River was incredible with those kids. So congratulations to them. I like Lake Forest in this game too. I think Archmere will put up a fight. They have a very strong team, very good coaching staff. So does Lake Forest. And I think Lake Forest has the talent edge right now.
All right, number 2, Howard against number 7, St. Mark's. Marty, when I first looked at this bracket, the first thing that I liked is that the teams that I consider the 2 best, number 1, Indian River, and number 2, Howard, are in separate end of the
Yes.
bracket.
Yep.
So they're not going to
Yep.
face each other, if they do, until the championship game. And so I liked that because that doesn't always happen.
Yep.
But it did. It did in this case. They did not play in the regular season. Howard's got 4 quality wins, including 2 against Hodson in Class 3A and a Class 3A playoff team, the number 4 seed in the Class 3A team, Appoquinimink, and they beat them soundly. That
Yes.
wasn't one that they got lucky and something
No.
happened at the end and blah blah blah. They beat Appoquinimink soundly, and so Howard's my favorite to win it all. So I'm certainly going to pick Howard to defeat St. Mark's. St. Mark's has 3 quality wins, including one against Class 3A William Penn, a non-playoff team, albeit. But I just think Howard's got too much power, too much speed. William Penn has been, St. Mark's has played well. They've probably won a game they shouldn't have, lost a game they shouldn't have, that kind of season that they've had. I just think Howard's going to be too much for them.
I agree. The one thing that said it for me was Red Lion put 55 on St. Mark's this weekend. If Red Lion's putting 55 on them, Red Lion's got a very good offense. Howard has got a very good offense, a very good defense. I just don't see that happening. John, the funny thing about this game, everybody's going to be so psyched up. The atmosphere is going to be incredible when they kick off at the ripe old time of 3:30 in the afternoon.
Put in for the day off now.
This is a bizarre. This came up in the meeting, and apparently because Dave Baylor does not allow Thursday games,
right?
With Abyssinia Stadium being used, it's going to be Sally's gets out at 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. Unless they make a decision to let the student body go early, you're going to have a lot of people showing up for the 3:30 game. Now, granted, Howard and St. Mark's are not huge fan base teams, right, just because they're not huge schools. But you got the metal detectors. These kids are going to get out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to start getting dressed. It's just a very odd atmosphere for a Howard team that is so used to playing at night and a St. Mark's team that plays all their games at night. So, and you got a doubleheader. This is the first of 2 games at Abyssinia. So once this game is over, you better scoot out because Sally's is coming in right after.
Right.
So I love Howard in this game. I just think the only thing that bothers me is this weird time. It's just so odd. These kids are going to get out so early and prepare for this, but talent level, Howard just has way too much. And again, the fact that Red Lion put 55 on that St. Mark's defense makes me think it's just too much Howard in this game.
Marty, did they mention why this game was going? You were on the meeting, I wasn't. Why they were pushing for this to be at 3:30?
You know what? They opened the meeting, and Dave said the first thing I'm going to say is Howard's playing at 3:30 on Friday. So apparently Howard and St. Mark's had already agreed to this. My guess is because Dave won't allow. Dan did say later in the meeting that, hey, is there any way we can play Thursday night? And of course, Dave went into his, we're not doing that spiel, which he has good reasons for it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Well, and just so our listeners know, the reason is very simple. That gives the winner of that game one more day off than whoever they play the next week on Friday.
Yeah, and potentially 2 if they play on Saturday.
Correct, right.
So his
2 more days.
Yes.
Right.
So his thing was in football with the recovery time, it's just way too big an advantage. So I do credit him with that. No, otherwise I don't know. I didn't see anything else at Abyssinia on Saturday. I don't know why. Maybe there's something going on there. I know there's other sports, obviously, but no, 3:30 in the afternoon is such a weird time. I don't know that we've ever seen a high level football game, which 2A is, at 3:30 in the afternoon in a tournament. So it'd be interesting.
It might be a referee situation. I'm just looking right now. We had 3 Newcastle County games in Class 1A. And again, I'm not going to take time to look at whether it's exactly Friday night or not. But here in Class 2, we're playing at Indian River Lake Forest. So there's 2 Newcastle County games there because the other 2 are at Abyssinia and Red Lion. And then when we get to Class 3, that's going to be Friday, 4 Friday night games. 1, 2, 3 of them upstate. So Northern Delaware officials. So anyway, it might be a referee situation, and they might have predicted that was coming. You know what? And let's be honest. It could be a safety thing playing a Friday night game at Abyssinia, even though the one is after that.
Yep.
If they're going to have 2 games at Abyssinia, then that's how you got to do it. You got to do it at 3:30 so you can clear everybody out and then bring the next group in, which is, I assume, is what they will do. And so that's probably why it's got to be.
And that question did come up. What about the people who go to the first game that want to stay for the second? Well, you're out of luck. You got to leave and come back in again.
Come back in and pay in again. Yep. To me, that's a safety thing. You're getting rid of 2 crowds. You're bringing 2 new crowds in.
Yep. Yep.
All right, last
Parking will be a nightmare, by the way.
yeah,
So
yeah. Be aware of that, right?
Yeah,
They're
be
not going
aware
to
of that
make
when you go.
they're not going to make the fans from Class 3A leave in the third quarter so the
No.
next group can come in and park. All right, so Class 2A, the final game, Red Lion and Laurel. Red Lion's a number 3 seed. They won the district tournament this past weekend with that win. Laurel, the number 6, kind of, Laurel was an iffy team. They
Yep.
needed to win and they needed to get help, and they got both. Red Lions got 3 quality wins. They've won 8 in a row since dropping their first 2 games to Class 3A teams, including Sally's. Laurel has 1 quality win, and that was against Brandywine. But again, quality win, playoff team, 1 class down. So I'm picking Red Lion. I just think that offense is too much, and I don't think the Laurel offense is enough to keep up with them.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That was my exact thing that I wrote down. Friday night against St. Mark's, Red Lion ran for almost 400 yards, Barber and Jones combined. Budinger threw for a bunch of yards and some TDs. Laurel's a good team. They're a solid team. They just don't have enough firepower to keep up with Red Lion. And defensively, they've had some lapses over the season where Red Lion's going to be able to take advantage. So I like Red Lion in this one as well.
Yeah, Red Lion's got a Division I quarterback in Budinger, and they've got 2 running backs, as you said, who can both run for 200-plus yards.
Yep.
And so that's going to be tough to win. All right, you might know Andre Smith of Andre L Photography from the sidelines, capturing Friday night lights and the biggest game moments. But what he and his wife love most is creating portraits that go beyond the field. Their award-winning sessions are designed to capture people in their true authenticity. For seniors, that means telling the story of this milestone year. For women's and businesses, it's about a transformative experience that celebrates and elevates you, whether it's senior portraits, personal branding, or the photo shoot you've always dreamed of. They are holding space for you. Get started with your session today at AndreLphotography.com. That's AndreELphotography.com. And let me mention those 2A games, Marty, when and where they are, because I'm not sure I did that. Indian River and Odessa is Friday, 7 o'clock at Indian River. Lake Forest and Archmere is Saturday at 7 o'clock. And so that's a very rare time for football teams to play.
Yes.
Usually if they play on Saturday, unless it's at Abyssinia Stadium, they play during the day. So Lake and Archmere playing at 7 o'clock. Howard and St. Mark's, as we mentioned, 3:30 on Friday. And then 7 o'clock is the game at Red Lion. And that's a great place to watch a football game on Friday night if you want, if you're looking for a game to go see. All right, so Class 3A, the big boys, as they call them. 4 teams in each class made it, which is how it's supposed to be. Now, remember, way back, 4 teams made it, no matter what they did.
That's right.
The DIAA changed that wisely, or the football committee, I should say, approved by the DIAA. But they still got what they would hope for from each class. There's 2 rematches of these 8 games. Both of the wins by the teams were by 5 or less points. So the rematches were close. The games were close of the teams that had to rematch. And another thing I like, similar to the Howard Indian River situation, Middletown and Sally's, if they face each other, it will be in the championship game.
Yes.
We weren't sure how that was going to fall out with Smyrna, who, don't get me wrong, Smyrna could beat who they need to beat.
Oh, yeah.
They'll end up playing at Sally's if they win their first round games. There's no saying that Smyrna can't beat them. But everybody believes the 2 best teams, and the rematch they would want to see is Salesianum and Middletown, whether we do or not. But at least the bracket has set itself up, so that is a possibility to do that. All right, let's start with the first game. This will be Friday night at 7 o'clock at Middletown High School, another great place to watch a football game when the top-seeded Cavaliers take on St. George's, who is the 8th seed, so they're the 4th team out of that second district. And they did not play during the regular season. Middletown has 4 quality wins in the state of Delaware. If you count their out-of-state wins, you add that many number of quality wins to that. St. George's has 2 quality wins against playoff teams. One of them was against a Class 2 team in St. Mark's. St. George's is always ready to play, Marty. I think it was last year. Didn't St. George's upset Appoquinimink in the first round?
It was Smyrna.
Why we have that?
Smyrna.
Oh, it was Smyrna. That's right. I knew it was a big team.
Yep.
And so they're always ready to play. It's just John Wilson has his teams. John Wilson has coached plenty of playoff teams. He understands what it takes. He understands the mentality to get them ready. Most of his playoff games at St. George's have been away games. If I went through and double checked, I'm sure. And so he'll have them ready to play. Middletown just has too much on both sides of the ball. And
I agree.
St. George's may be able to hang close, but Middletown's, they've shown they still got offensive power, beating, Appoquinimink convincingly this
Yep.
past week. And we know they have the best, or certainly one of the best defenses in the state of Delaware.
Yeah, they've been incredible this year. And just to clarify, they did lose all three of those out-of-state games, but all three of those teams at the times they played them, I haven't checked since, they were all ranked in the top 10 of their states, and I think two of them are ranked top 50 nationally.
Right.
So they came into this season just loaded for bear, and they got off to a rough start. They had the Smyrna game, which we all know how that went. We don't have to revisit that. But then they got rolling, and they've been rolling downhill since. The running back core is loaded. Cunningham has had a great season. The receivers are loaded. The defense is phenomenal. Jack Wilson, as I said, my favorite defensive player. They fly all over the place. They still make the more than occasional dumb penalty with the unsportsmanlike stuff. If they clean that stuff up, I don't think there's anybody that can stop this team. Talent wise, they are just absolutely loaded. John Wilson again. I always call them like the Michael Myers of this division. Every time you think they're dead, they sit right back up again. I never count them out. So it's he always comes up with some crazy game plan or something different. I don't think they'll win this game. Middletown, just way too much Middletown. But St. George's and his guys, John Wilson, congratulations for another entry into the tournament.
All right. After that, Appoquinimink and Caravel. That's a Friday night game at 7 o'clock. I'll be doing the public address announcing for that, so looking forward to that. Appoquinimink defeated Caravel 17-14 in an overtime game when Lincoln Neubauer kicked a field goal, and so that game could have gone either way. In fact, it looked like it was going the other way.
Yes.
But a nice forced fumble by Appoquinimink gave them back the ball, and they were able to tie that up. And so, Marty, this Appoquinimink team's coming off a tough loss to Middletown. They've been up and down. They too suffer from some personal foul and or untimely, unsportsmanlike conduct, things that they need to get straightened out. If you're going to win in the playoffs against a quality team, if you're beating a team by 30, that 15-yard penalty doesn't mean a whole lot.
Right.
If you're playing a team that you only beat by 3, it could mean a lot. Similarly, not from an unsportsmanlike personal foul penalty situation, Caravel was banged up. They forfeited the game because they were banged up. Apparently, they had everybody back for the Hodson game. Mm-hmm. If not everybody, the majority of the people. So they should be physically healthy. But again, the same situation hasn't changed. They have a very short bench. And so unlike a lot of teams, including Appoquinimink, where the backups come in and they belong playing 3A, that's not always the case. And this is nothing against Caravel. It's just the result of the size of the players that they have in a very small program. And so this is a game where John Reed needs his team to stay healthy, and Coach Timpson needs his team to limit the number of penalties that they get, especially the ones that you can control that have to do with mental awareness and you're being able to control your temper. And so I'm going to take Appoquinimink as much because it's a home game as anything. Maybe I think Appoquinimink has proven it can score. Caravel has proven it can score. This could be, I was shocked the last game they played was only basically each team had 2 touchdowns and then a field goal. I would have had that game in the 30s minimum, maybe in the 40s. Appoquinimink has to protect Desai Drummond because Caravel's defense is quick enough at both on the line and in the linebacking core to catch him if he gets out and runs. Not every team is. Caravel is. And so Desai Drummond needs to be protected so that he is able to hit 2 very good wide receivers. I mean, he's got several wide receivers, but in particular, Don Monabell and Francis Drummond. Those guys are going to have to make catches and either make long plays after the catch or score touchdowns if this Appoquinimink team is going to have a shot to beat Caravel.
I agree. I think this is a weird matchup because last time you have Appo. There's something fundamentally wrong with the Appo offense right now, and I'm not sure they can't run the ball. They just cannot run the football. So everything is Desai Drummond. The running game is Desai Drummond. The passing game is Desai Drummond. Caravel doesn't throw the ball, although we know they can. Remember when they played, Matt Rice was 0 for 3. He didn't have a completion the entire game. I imagine this game is going to be a lot different on both sides because both teams struggled so mightily. Appo they're so loaded offensively on the outside edges. It's hard to believe they're not putting up more points than they are.
Right.
And I agree with you. Caravel is, and people are criticizing us or whatever. They are banged up. We know that. It's going to be tough. This came up to basically to a coin flip for me, and I went with the home team. I agree. I think Appoquinimink it's too much Desai Drummond. I think
Right.
if he gets going, and he's one of those guys, if you get him outside of the pocket, good luck, because he can take off,
Yeah.
he can fling it down the field 50 yards with a flick of his wrist.
Yep.
They've got a lot of talent. I do think this is going to be a close game. This is going to be one of the better games to watch this weekend, but I give a slight edge to Apple
And the one thing Desai Drummond does better than he did when he started the varsity level quarterback is when he does pull out the run, he still looks to pass the
he's
ball.
not tucking it and running.
Right. And that's what he used to be. And so he's kind of easy to defend, and that the defenders know as soon as he tucks, we don't have to cover the receivers anymore. That is not the case anymore.
No.
He is an all-around quarterback. Of course, Gatorade Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year last year.
Yep.
So it's no secret. But he needs to continue to do that. And like you said, he's been forced to run more this year than he has been in his entire career at Appoquinimink High School. And so they're very fortunate he's as good as he is from an athletic standpoint. All right, next we have number 2 Smyrna against number 7 Caesar Rodney. This is also a Friday night game at 7 o'clock. In fact, all 4 of these Class 3A games are Friday night games. 3 of them at 7. The Sally's one that we'll talk about in a minute is at 8 o'clock because of the Howard game being played before it. Smyrna won this game 22-17. Both these teams in District 2, of course. That was in week 7. And Smyrna has 3 quality wins and, of course, played a couple out-of-state powerhouses. And so they come in with plenty on their resume, even if they didn't win all those games out of state. And Caesar Rodney has 1 quality win. That was a win against Cape. Caesar Rodney's had their best year in a long time. They're playing well. They're playing smart. They're playing strong. I just don't think they have enough to hold back this Smyrna offense in particular with Drew Marks and Phoenix Henriquez, who's probably the best receiver in the state, and other guys who can catch too. Because remember, I think it was last week Henriquez didn't even have a catch. And so they have other weapons. There's no doubt about that. They, of course, have the earthquake offense occasionally. And I just think Mike Judy's got his team right where he likes to get them every year. But in week 5, we're questioning whether they're going to make the playoffs because of who they played out of state, and in the past couple of years. And then they get in, and then they start making noise. Of course, upset last year, as we mentioned, in St. George's, but that was an upset. Everybody picked Smyrna to win that, and so I'm going to take the number 2 Smyrna Eagles here to advance when they will probably face Sally's if I get that pick right. More on that in a minute.
Yeah, I agree. I think you look at this matchup, and the first thing you think of the 2 quarterbacks. Quinn DeVere has had a really good second half of the season for Caesar Rodney. They're starting to meld a little bit. They're playing with a lot more confidence. They gave Smyrna a run for their money. For me, Drew Marks may be the MVP of the second half of the season for me. I watched the last 3 games of his. And some of the throws he made in the last game on the run, I mean, the kid scrambles out of the pocket, goes from one sideline to the other, and then hits a pinpoint pass in the end zone for a touchdown. He is playing with so much confidence right now. And I think part of that is they've got Enriquez going down the field a little bit more. They used to do a ton of screen passes to him, which they still do, but they're going downfield more and letting Drew kind of move out of the pocket. And that has been a huge boon to them because his vision is like Desai Drummond. I mean, he gets out there and he used to tuck it and run when he was a younger guy, senior now, but a kid who's got a ton of talent. And to me, that offense is the difference. The one scary point about Smyrna is they gave up 40 points this weekend. So I don't know if Judy still goes strictly with the one side only. I believe he.
I think he does.
I think he does too.
Yeah.
They don't kick the ball. We know that. We've seen that bite them sometimes, but. In their mind, they go 50% on 2-point conversions. It's the same thing as kicking the extra points. So, and they've been very good at 2-point conversions this season, much better than last. So, for me, it's just too much Smyrna offense. I agree.
All right, so again, that game will be 7 o'clock at Smyrna. And then the last one in 3A is at Apocinio Stadium at 8 o'clock, or probably about an hour after the Howard game ends. I think is usually what they do it. They're going to take on number 6, Cape Henlopen. These teams did not play in a regular season. Salesianum has 4 quality wins in state. One of them was against the Class 2A team, Red Lion, who they played in week 1. The other quality win, and the other team, Cape Henlopen, has 2 quality wins. And again, they played one of theirs down also against St. Mark's. Cape Henlopen was iffy whether they were going to get in. They needed to win. They needed to get help. They did win against St. George's, and they got a little bit of help probably, and they're in. I just don't think they have what it takes to beat Salesianum. I think they have what it takes to keep it close for a half. Yep. I just think Sally's has too much power. An excellent coaching staff to make adjustments. Not that Cape doesn't. My point
Right.
being,
Right.
Bally's has a coaching staff that makes adjustments at halftime. When you look at their games,
Yep.
they're a second half team because of those adjustments that are made. So I'm going to take Salesianum in that game.
And just one of the things, looking at the schedule, Cape Henlopen gave up 42 points to Smyrna, 48 to Appoquinimink, 35 to Lake Forest in a loss. This is just too much Salesiana. Brady Knabb, I would say, aside from the one hiccup against Middletown, he's also had a very strong second half. They have Jasir Gaiman. They have our guy, I'm drawing a blank on our player of the week from a couple of weeks ago, Jet Healy,
Yeah.
who does an amazing job on special teams. Odell Teal, who I think is one of the more underrated players in the state defensively, especially in terms of blocking kicks. Too much Salesianum here. And I saw that, it's funny. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but the interview Brad Myers did with Gene Deladon, where they credited William Penn for only coming out with 26 players. It just felt like a little dig at Caravel got in there. I love that. And just for fans' perspective, too, because we had mentioned this on last week's program, Salesianum has decided not to do senior night at their playoff game. Dave announced that at the meeting today and said that was their decision. They were going to do something else. But, I do think this Cape Henlopen team is fun to watch, very fun to watch. Sally's just defensively and again with Knabb improving as much as he has over the course of the season, just too much Salesianum in this one.
And for somebody who says, well, how can you not do senior night? This is what I'm thinking. I wasn't able to get confirmation. Salesianum every Friday of the school year brings the entire student body together, which packs their gym, in the morning, and they do what I call community service, other type of programming stuff. I've been there to speak on behalf of Special Olympics. That's how I know about this. My guess is they will do senior night that morning.
Gotcha.
And invite the families. Granted, some may not be able to make it because it's a work day, but they'll be in front of their entire student body being honored, and it might also double as a pep rally for the big game that night. Do I know this for a fact? No. I'm just suggesting that this might be how they've decided to handle senior night, because, again, you can't assume they're going to win and say, we'll do it during the semifinals. It'll be a bigger deal. You can't assume that. So my guess is they've got another plan, and it would make sense that their other plan is this 1 hour long assembly they have every single Friday morning.
Right.
All right, that does it for the playoff outlooks. We're going to talk about our helmet stickers and player of the week. But first, I want to remind you that Diamond Hill Incorporated has been a sponsor of this podcast from the start. For more than 20 years, they've been serving all of Delaware and the surrounding areas in all things construction, from commercial concrete and site development to residential projects. They have you covered. Email info@diamondhillinc.com. That's info@diamondhillinc.com. All right, Marty, we got some helmet stickers to give out. And, of course, our player of the week. The helmet sticker was designed by Amy Hoff of Hoff Productions, and she does wonderful multimedia things, whether it's graphics, video, that type of thing, for every occasion. She's helped us celebrate our sons' accomplishments during their sports seasons, and so was happy to do it for you as well. Amy Hoff, from concept to creation, hoffproductionsde@gmail.com.
And she's also doing you might want to throw out our store.
Yep. Yeah. I had that. Okay. And let me,
cool.
Well, you mentioned it. Yeah, no, I had that. But we have wearables available, and they're available at hoffproductionsde.com. That's hoffproductionsde.com. And you can order T-shirts, sweatshirts, those types of things. And she has a pretty quick turnaround. We had several orders placed last week when we announced it. We'll also put that on our website as well, and Twitter. We'll get that link back out there for you as well. And again, we've priced this so that Marty and I don't make any money. We'd rather the word get around about what we do to promote high school football. And so just keep that in mind, that the prices are based on just the.
And I believe it says the price includes shipping.
It does.
So when you see the prices seem pretty low. It also includes shipping. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, exactly. So again, that's hoffproductionsde.com. All right, let's start with helmet stickers. I'll start, Marty. Red Lion, Jordan Jones. I mentioned two guys who can run for 200. He fell just 7 yards shy. So he ran for 193 yards and had 2 touchdowns in that big win against St. Mark's. And that was a big win because that clinched the district title for Red Lion and guaranteed them a home scene. So Jordan Jones of Red Lion is my first helmet sticker.
And I'm going to go down to Cape Henlopen, Cordell Richards, who looks like a tight end maybe. 7 catches, 91 yards, and a game-winning touchdown. Mainly I picked him for the one play, which was the game-winning touchdown. He caught the pass around the 5-yard line, turned and met about 4 St. George's defenders
Mm.
and bulled his way through all 4 of them. He was not being denied getting an end zone. At the end, he reached out fully with his arm to get the ball across. I just love the play. And then when I saw what he had done through the entire game, I thought Cordell Richards, he's getting them helmet stickers. So Cordell Richards and Cape Henlopen is my first one.
All right, Tatnall with a rare win this season, and it was thanks to kicker Justin Bozo. And he kicked a 23-yard field goal in overtime to lead his team to an 18-15 win over Mount Pleasant. So congratulations to Justin Bozo, another field goal kicker making noise here in Delaware.
And we're not clowning around about Justin Bozo, John. The first thing I thought when I heard his name, I'm sorry, I had to go there. You know what? This is funny. I'm staying with Tatnall. Billy Lang had an absolute game of his lifetime for Tatnall. 12 rushes, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also intercepted 3 passes, 2 pass deflections, 6 tackles, a half tackle for a loss, and a forced fumble. So Billy Lang for Tatnall in a game where they wanted to get out and finish their season on a strong point. He made sure they did. Billy Lang for Tatnall is my second helmet sticker.
All right, I'm going to go to Dickinson. Not many wins this year. They picked one up against AI 32-20, and I'm going to go with Jafari Payne. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and a pick 6, so responsible for 3 of the touchdowns to lead Dickinson to one of their wins. And so congratulations to Jafari Payne.
And I'm going to go down to Indian River, and this is a guy who might not get a ton of press with all the talent they have down there. Landon Irby, wide receiver, 5 catches, 135 yards. He caught the tying touchdown pass in that game. He's had a great season for them all year, but they are so loaded offensively, just not a name that you hear all that often. So Landon Irby from Indian River is my third helmet sticker.
All right, I'm going to stay with the Dickinson AI game and go with AI's running back Keontae Tan Finney. So Keontae Tan Finney, he had 3 rushing touchdowns in the loss. They only scored 20 points. Yep. He had all of them. And so that congratulations to Keontae Tan Finney of AI.
My last one is going to go to one of the big boys, Darian Cunningham at Middletown, who's had a phenomenal season, 9 of 11, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 61 rushing yards, and a touchdown. He has grown so much into that position. He's running that offense perfectly, getting the ball spread out, hitting the edge when he has to, tucking it when he needs to, but looking downfield all the time. So Darian Cunningham of Middletown is my last helmet sticker.
All right, my last one, I'm going to go down to Sussex Tech. They defeated Woodbridge 28-20, and he had 24 carries, 179 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This is Eric Wright McLaughlin. And so he averaged almost 7 yards a carry, got 3 of the 4 touchdowns at Sussex Tech for the win. You know, that was when they had to get to have a chance to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, didn't get in, but a big one as well. So those are your helmet stickers. And just a reminder that when we send you the helmet sticker, we'll send it to your coach. The coach will get it to you. Please don't put it on your helmet or anything else you wear during the games. Did you have something you want to say there, Marty?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, so now it is time for our Promotion Zone Player of the Week. Whatever, wherever, and however you want to promote your organization, product, or anything else, Promotion Zone can help you make the right decisions based on your needs and your budget, whether it's apparel, pens, coffee mugs, or something out of the ordinary. Promotion Zone is your one-stop shop for all your branding needs, celebrating their 16th year in business. They're located right here in Delaware, so they understand the value of hometown business relationships. Check them out on Facebook at Promotion Zone DE or on their website at promotionzone.biz. Promotion Zone, the swag folks, since 2009 for all your branding and apparel needs. They supply a T-shirt. The one I'm wearing, not actually, it's not the one I'm wearing. It's got the full logo on it, but it's a black T-shirt with a full logo. Actually, it might be gray. Anyway, T-shirt from Promotion Zone will come out to the player. If you get it, take a picture of it, send it to us. We'll get it on social media and promote it as well. All right, this week's Player of the Week is Indian River's Darnell Stokes. Hasn't been a Player of the Week before. I did check that. We don't like to name the same player twice in a row, or twice necessarily. He has been a helmet sticker winner. 15 carries, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. And they were tough touchdowns, 81 yards, 8 yards, and barreling in from 1 yard out. He also had 4 receptions for 42 yards in the 27-20 win over Lake. Biggest game of the year for Indian River. Winner takes the district and ended up being the number 1 seed in it. And so it was a huge game for Darnell Stokes.
Yeah, this was cool because this was and it reminded me of something Dover had done with John Parker several years ago. At halftime, after the first quarter, they were down 14-0. They moved Stokes from wide receiver to running back, which they hadn't been doing this season before. And boy, did he respond. As you said, those long touchdown runs, he was the spark that got that team going in the second half and led them. And it's funny because when you texted me and said he hasn't been one of our player of the weeks, he's one of those kids because he's so talented. Right. He's in the paper every week. He's in the highlights every week. And it gets in your head and you think, oh, we've obviously given this kid something. I mean,
you know, we hadn't.
Yeah, me neither. Me too. And so I'm glad you pointed that out, and I'm glad we finally got able to recognize Darnell Stokes.
All righty. So Darnell will get your T-shirt size and an address to send that to you. Congratulations. All right. It's now time for our weekly trivia question sponsored by the Marticelli Restaurant Group. They own the Chesapeake Inn, Klondike Kate's, and La Casa Pasta. They give a $50 gift card to the winner of the trivia contest. Can be used at any of the 3 restaurants. You can enjoy signature crab cakes and other fresh seafood at Chesapeake Inn, right on the water, right on the Chesapeake Inn, or the Chesapeake Canal, I should say, C&D Canal. Homemade pastas and seafood specialties at La Casa Pasta, or Klondike Kate's famous cheesesteak, egg rolls, and nachos. We can't thank the Marticelli Restaurant Group enough for supporting our podcast and in turn supporting high school football here in Delaware. Marty, the floor is yours.
First of all, for this week, I am going to post our trivia question on the website or on my Twitter page, on the Delaware High School podcast Twitter page. We had a heat situation in our house. Some things happened. I wasn't able to find the trivia question. I was too busy trying to stay warm. So we will post that this week, and it'll be the same rules. Get your answer in by Wednesday at 8 p.m. And the best way to reach us is delhsfootball@gmail.com. That's delhsfootball@gmail.com. Last week, it's funny. Dave Tate was our winner. Dave is a longtime listener of the show. A great guy, responds to a ton of our trivia questions. I think this question is forever going to remain a mystery, and here's why. I had to accept 2 answers for this. James Oliger kicked a 58-yarder in 2003. It's in the News Journal. He kicked a 58-yarder. At the end of the season, when he made All-State, they said he kicked a 58-yarder. The next season in the same News Journal, they were talking about records, and they listed it as a 57-yarder. Oh. Well, then he was interviewed a couple years later and said he held the record in Delaware with a 57-yarder. So I had to accept 57 and 58 for the answers. Max Prep has 57. The News Journal, the original article, which I have, has 58 very clearly. So it's interesting, but it was James Oliger. He broke his own record, by the way. And the Oligers are all over this kicking record book, by the way. There's 3 of them, and they were hitting 40 yarders all over the place. So James Oliger, 58 or 57 yards, which no one has come close to duplicating as of yet. I don't think we've had another 50-yarder since then. So it'll be interesting to see, because the kicking age in Delaware is upon us. There are some really quality kickers out there. So congratulations to Dave Tate, last week's winner.
All right, so that is going to wrap it up for today. Thanks to our sponsors, the Marticelli Restaurant Group, Promotion Zone, Diamond Hill Incorporated, Mary Kate Johnston with Remax Associates, Dan Rigby, author of The Win the Day Planner, Andre L. Photography, and Amy Hoff of Hoff Productions. And, of course, the presenting sponsor, websitesforsports.com. That's websites, the number 4, sports.com, your one-stop shop for all things high school football. Don't forget to follow us on X and Facebook, and please like and share the podcast as well so we can continue to spread the word about the wonderful sport of high school football here in Delaware.
Hey, John, one last thing. I did open the comment section, or I had you open the comment section. So if anybody has comments or questions for us, please leave them in there. The only thing I ask is that you be respectful to John and I and each other when we're doing this. And but we're happy to hear any questions or comments people might have. Yeah, if you want to make fun of Marty or I, just send us a direct message. That's the best way to do that. There you go. So. All right, Marty, playoffs are here. Exciting time. It's time to go. All right, folks, we'll see you next Sunday. Enjoy the first round of the playoffs.